Nalibnos kinaindaklan nga aldaw kaadal adtoy ni Maestrong Eliocano amang iturong kada kayo ti pagsayaatan, pagbanagan ken pagdurasan ti siyensya. Come and join me as we explore the wonders of science.
Many of the things around us are actually mixtures. The steel used in construction, the brass used in musical instruments and industrial equipment, the coffee you are drinking every morning, the food you eat. All these things are mixture. Today, we will distinguish mixtures into homogeneous mixture and heterogeneous mixtures. A mixture is the physical combination of two or more substances. Composition of a mixture varies for every sample. Changing the proportion of the substances making up the mixture varies the composition. Moreover, the substances that make up the mixture retain their chemical properties. Seawater is an example of a mixture because it is composed of salt dissolved in water. Sand and gravel, the mud, the jelly bean candies, and ice cream are all examples of mixture. If you observe the things around you, you will notice that a lot of them are mixtures of some kind. The electric fan is a mixture of plastic and different metals. The pencil that you use is a mixture of graphite, wood, and rubber. Pure substances are mostly found in laboratories where they are used as reagents to analyze and observe the characteristics of matter under specified condition. Mixtures can be classified as either homogeneous and heterogeneous. Homogeneous mixtures are mixtures exhibiting uniform phase and appearance. Air is an example of homogeneous mixture because it is composed of different gases such as oxygen, nitrogen, and carbon dioxide. A homogeneous mixture is also formed when you dissolve sugar in water. Such mixtures are called solutions. Another example of homogeneous mixture is called an alloy. An alloy is a solid mixture of metal and another metal, usually another metal. Alloys are very useful mixtures and are widely used in industry and technology. Alloys are preferred to pure metals because they tend to be stronger. Here are the different types of alloys. We have steel, which is composed of iron and carbon, which is used in construction. Stainless steel, which is composed of iron, chromium, nickel, and carbon, which is usually used in cutlery, construction, and medical instruments. Brass, which is composed of copper and zinc, usually used in musical instruments and industrial equipment. Bronze, which is composed of copper and tin, which is usually used in decorative ornaments and plumbing. Solder, which is usually composed of lead and tin and used in joining two metals or electronics. Duralumin, which is composed of aluminum, copper, and magnesium and used in aircraft construction. Pewter, which is composed of tin, antimony, and copper and usually used in decorative ornaments. Heterogeneous mixtures are mixtures with no uniform phase and appearance. The components of this type of mixture remain physically separated. A heterogeneous mixture is formed when grains of rice are mixed with table salt in a salt shaker container. The salt can be manually separated from the rice grains. Mud, a heterogeneous mixture, is formed when small soil or dirt particles are suspended in water This type of heterogeneous mixture is called suspension. As stated earlier, many things around you are mixtures. Know that the purity of substances is important. Any impurities or contaminants in your food, drink, and medicine you take can have adverse effects on your body when ingested. Different chemicals are also used to dye and color the fabrics used in producing clothes. Chemists ensure that the dyes and stains used to color your clothes contain chemicals that are safe. Like these chemists, you must determine whether the chemicals and substances you use are pure or not. How do you determine the purity of a substance? There are a lot of analytical techniques and modern laboratory equipment that chemists use to determine the purity of a given substance. You can also determine the purity of a substance by analyzing some of its physical properties. These properties are the melting point and the boiling point. You can also determine the purity of a given liquid through a laboratory technique called chromatography. A solid substance is considered pure if it has a fixed melting point. When a pure solid reaches this temperature, the solid will melt completely. An ice cube or pure water will melt at exactly 0 degrees Celsius. Pure gold will melt at 1064.18 degrees Celsius. If the samples of ice or gold you are testing do not melt at these temperatures, then these samples are not pure substances. Here are some of the separation techniques. First, mechanical or manual separation. This method is used to manually separate a solid from another solid with the use of hands, forceps, sieves, magnets, and tongs. For example, you can separate yellow skittle pieces from other pieces of colors by manually picking up the yellow ones. Iron filings can be separated from sulfur powder by picking them up with a magnet. Next is filtration. This method is used to separate small, insoluble solid particles dispersed or suspended in a liquid medium. Example, the sand in water. In this process, the liquid medium and the suspended particles are passed through a filter or sieve. The solid particles retained in the filter or sieve are called residues. And the liquid that passes through the filter is called the filtrate. Next is the decantation. In washing rice, you slowly tilt the container so that the water will spill over slowly, leaving the rice grains in the container. This process is called decantation. This method is used to separate a dense and insoluble solid, which are too large to be filtered using the standard filtration setup from a liquid. Next is through the evaporation to dryness. Insoluble solids can be obtained from liquid suspension either through filtration or decantation. However, some solids like salt and sugar dissolve after being placed in water. To separate dissolved solids from a liquid solution, you can simply heat the solution until all the water or liquid evaporates, leaving the solid behind. This process is called evaporation to dryness. This method is used by salt farmers in Pangasinan to obtain salt from seawater. Next is the using a separating funnel. Liquids such as oil and water do not readily mix. Liquid that do not readily mix or dissolve in each other are called immiscible liquids. Immiscible liquids can be separated from one another using a separating funnel. In using this technique, first, put the two liquids inside the separating funnel. This will allow the lower layer to drain to the beaker. Close the top after draining the lower layer. Next is the dissolution. Suppose you spill a cup of sugar in your rice container. Separating the sugar from rice manually can be difficult. However, you can separate the rice from the sugar simply by washing the rice. The sugar dissolves in water. This process is called dissolution. This method is used to separate an insoluble solid from a soluble solid using a liquid solvent. Lastly, distillation. In the process of evaporation to dryness, only the dissolved liquid can be obtained. The liquid solvent evaporates into the atmosphere. How can you collect a liquid from a solution? The liquid solvent can be separated from a solution through a process called distillation. This method involves heating the solution until it boils and then condensing the vapor back to liquid form in a separate container. Pure water can be distilled from a salt solution using distillation. The extracted liquid from a distillation process is called a distillate. Fractional distillation is another form of distillation. It is used to separate two miscible liquids. Miscible liquids are liquids that can be mixed together to form a solution. This method makes use of different boiling points of liquids. For example, the solution of ethanol and water can be separated using fractional distillation. The solution is heated to around 80 degrees Celsius, which is the boiling point of ethanol at normal conditions. At this temperature, ethanol will boil and turn into vapor, leaving only water. Ethanol vapor will be condensed and collected in a separate container. So these are the things that you need to know about mixtures, specifically homogeneous and heterogeneous mixtures. Until next time, thank you for watching.